The objective of this training film is to provide the users with all aspects of VIP6AI operator interface. Please note that any programs contained within this film is for training purposes only and not to be used for patient tissue processing. There are 3 automatic cleaning cycles available on the VIP6AI. The first one is the clean retort, which is to clean the retort with xylene and alcohol. The second one is the warm water flush, which is to remove chemical or debris buildup. The third one is the rinse cycle, which is to rinse the retort and internal plumbing in the external drain or fill line. Prior to initiating any clean cycle, any excess paraffin or other reagent is to be wiped out of the retort and off the lid and the top of the retort. The cleaning reagents of xylene and alcohol are only as effective when they are clean. The clean retort will run a program using cleaning reagents from bottles 16 and 17 as programmed by the user. The number of reagent cycle, pump in and pump out, may be defined by the user. This clean retort screen will appear after every automatic process run. If a cleaning cycle was chosen during initial setup, when the clean retort screen comes up, you will be prompted to hit start. If none is selected, user will have to select one of the 3 cleaning cycles. To edit a clean program, select a program. You will notice that the black button on the left will turn from black to blue. Touch Edit Clean Program. Modify the number of xylene cycles, 1 through 15 cycles. Modify the cycle interval time, 0 to 5 minutes. The interval in the retort cleaning cycle is the time xylene stays in the retort after being pumped in and before being pumped out. The longer the time it sits in the retort, the more time it has to dissolve the paraffin in the retort. Modify the retort temperature. The range is between 45 to 60 degrees Celsius. Modify the number of alcohol cycles, 1 to 15 cycles, and then touch Save. Set the warm-up time for the retort warm-up. The range is from 0 to 15 minutes. Users may elect to use the Solution Manager to top off either of the cleaning reagents as long as the same reagents are in the bulk stations. The estimated time required is dependent on the number of xylene and alcohol cycles, retort warm-up, and the addition of the drying cycle to clean retort. The sequence of operations during a clean cycle are as follows. The retort and related components heat for 0 to 15 minutes, user settable. Remaining warm-up time is displayed if retort warm-up time is set. Cleaning program. Clean 1, Clean 2, or Clean 3 is displayed along with information columns of pumping cycles and remaining cycles. The retort heats to the user's set temperature of 45 to 60 degrees Celsius or no temp. The rotary valve and gate valve heat to approximately 70 Celsius. Additional display and system status shows station number in use, instrument operation, retort atmosphere, and oven temperature. For clean cycles performed following paraffin use in the retort, a pump out is performed at the paraffin station where the program ended. If the clean cycle is initiated when the last station was not paraffin, the rotary valve will move to station 16 prior to the heating step. A secondary pump out is not performed unless paraffin was the last reagent used in the retort. Xylene cleaning is done by the pumping of xylene between reagent container number 16 and the retort for the number of times selected by the operator. The purpose of this step is to remove residual paraffin from the retort, baskets, and small plumbing area common to all reagents. The least programmable number of xylene cycles is 1. The most programmable number of xylene cycles is 15. The recommended changing of xylene is after 5 cleaning programs. Alcohol cleaning is done by the pumping of alcohol between reagent container number 17 and the retort for the number of times selected by the operator. The purpose of this step is to remove residual xylene from the retort, baskets, and small plumbing area common to all reagents. The least programmable number of alcohol cycles is 1. The most programmable number of alcohol cycles is 15. Caution! Touching the pause button during the clean cycle will display a window to abort the cleaning cycle. The main menu screen will appear, but if paraffin was previously in the retort, a warning of "Retort is dirty, clean retort" will display. A new clean cycle will have to be initiated. A clean cycle is fulfilled when all steps within the running program have been completed. If the paraffin stations were not used in the previous tissue processing program, the unit will let the user start new tissue processing. If the paraffin stations were used in the previous tissue processing program, the unit will not allow the user to start new tissue processing. It will display a warning window with the message, "Retort is dirty, clean the retort." Exception: if the new tissue processing program only consists of paraffin stations, it will allow the user to start the program without having to go through the clean cycle. Reagent deterioration. The number of cassette runs during a processing program has no influence on the cleaning reagent's purity. Whether running empty practice runs or high-volume specimen runs, the routine use of the clean retort program is to clean the wiped-out retort and specimen baskets of residual paraffin. Some VIP 6AI operators may use the cleaning reagents for more applications than the standard retort cleaning program that follows each run. Examples include cleaning of base molds, cassette lids, embedding forceps, tampers, and reverse processing of tissues. Increased paraffin residue in both the xylene and the alcohol can cause paraffin to collect and solidify in the internal tubing and can cause instrument malfunction. Special attention should be paid to not permit embedding paraffin that is exclusively for embedding into the instrument or cleaning process. When used for more than routine retort cleaning, it is strongly recommended that the cleaning reagents be changed more frequently. Use of xylene substitutes. Xylene substitutes were originally introduced as a safer clarant for histology use, having lower user exposure limits than that of xylene. When using a xylene substitute as a cleaning reagent, please recognize that these substitutes are not as potent as xylene and may require more frequent changing when used as a cleaning reagent in bottle number 16. Additionally, some of the newer and softer, easier cutting paraffins may not dissolve as readily in the xylene substitutes as they will in actual xylene. Reprocessing of tissues. Using the tissue processor's clean cycle to perform the reverse reagent exposure to specimens has been practiced by some histologists for a number of years. Partial or total reprocessing of specimens may be necessary when paraffin infiltration is hindered by water or too much lipid material remaining in the specimen. A frequent cause for this is due to specimens being cut too thick for adequate fixation or infiltration with the reagents during the set immersion times of the processing program. Another possibility may be diluted final alcohol reagents. Sometimes reagents may be placed in the wrong order when changed or rotated. Please consider potential harm that can be done with triple processing if the specimens are taken through all reagent, back to formalin, and then processed through the entire same process with fresh, clean reagents to which they have already been exposed to. Be aware that some dehydration has already taken place. Users may need to adjust reprocessing times according to specimen size and thickness, purity of processing reagents, and the amount of heat the specimen has been exposed to during the accumulated processing times. It is recommended to evaluate each specimen prior to reprocessing to determine the histologically responsible reagent exposure. Final specimen processing is the ultimate priority. Also, reagent replacement after reprocessing may be necessary for the sake of subsequent processing and also for the instrument's maintenance. Users are cautioned to use good laboratory practices, histological wisdom, and patient responsibility when validating instrument specimen applications for the first time. The warm water flush is performed to cleanse the plumbing lines between the reagent bottle and the retort in stations 1 through 5 as programmed by the user. This function choice will initiate a maintenance procedure designed to flush and/or dissolve debris from internal fluid plumbing. Fluid, usually warm tap water, is placed at the stations where foreign material might most logically be present in the internal plumbing. At the initiation of this procedure, the fluid travels from the specific reagent container through specific tubing, through the shared plumbing, and into the retort. When the reagent container is empty, the reagent is drained from the retort through shared plumbing, through the specific tubing, and back into the reagent container. What reagents are used in this maintenance process? To dissolve neutral buffering chemicals, warm tap water may be used. To dissolve possible zinc formalin precipitates, use 2% to 5% glacial acetic acid water to rinse through the lines. To break down the inky, sludgy lipid materials, a 5 to 10% bleach solution may be used. This must always be followed by 4 to 6 clean water rinses in the same lines. Bleach at any strain is corrosive, so exposure of the liquid or even the vapors to metal must be kept to minimum times. The reagent plumbing that will benefit from this flush procedure will be the lines from the bottles of fixative and following alcohol steps. The number of steps involved will depend on immersion times programmed in first 2 or 3 alcohol steps and reagent retention materials, such as biopsy pads, sponges, and mesh cassettes included in the retort. When you first access this warm water flush screen, you have the option to select up to the first 5 stations. To select stations to flush, touch each station and the square to the left of each station name will change from black to blue. To include a drying cycle following the warm water flush, touch Drying Cycle. After this line maintenance is finished, the VIP emits 3 rapid beeps twice, and the screen returns to the main menu. Following this, the material in the bottles may be emptied and standard reagents will need to be put back in place. The rinse cycle is performed to cleanse the retort or the plumbing lines between the retort and the external drain fill port. This function choice will initiate a maintenance procedure designed to rinse the retort and/or station 18 external drain and fill and internal fluid plumbing with clean 100% alcohol. This may be performed following reagent exchange to rinse between different chemical exchanges through the retort. Touch the desired selection, rinse or the drain fill port rinse, and you will notice that the square to the left of each name will change from black to blue. To include the solution manager, touch Solution Manager. This will only work if one of the bulk containers are being used for 100% alcohol. To include a drying cycle following the warm water flush, touch Drying Cycle. If rinse is selected at the initiation of this procedure, the alcohol travels from station 17, cleaning alcohol, through the shared plumbing and into the retort. When the reagent container is empty, the reagent is drained from the retort. If drain fill port rinse is selected, connect the external drain fill tube to station 18 connector and place the other end of the hose into an external container with clean 100% alcohol. General maintenance of your instrument is necessary in order to ensure proper operation. We highly recommend the following daily, weekly, and monthly maintenance. Daily maintenance. Wipe out the retort and retort lid after the paraffin has been drained out and before starting the clean cycle. Remove the drain filter, and if you clean your baskets and molds in the retort during the clean cycle, please add them. Start the clean cycle. While the clean cycle is running, clean and drain filter by inspecting it for debris. Hold it up to the light and make sure that all pores and holes are clean, and if they are not, please use a soft bristled brush and remove any debris found. After the clean cycle completes, inspect the gasket carefully for cracks, splitting, tearing, or other signs of deterioration that could cause leaks. Replace the gasket if necessary. Reinstall the clean drain filter. You should check the fluid levels of all your reagents, including the paraffin, and add as needed. You should also check the error log daily and record any information per your laboratory protocol. Weekly maintenance. Weekly, you should clean the level sensors, perform the warm water flush, and replace your cleaning reagents. The retort contains 4 level sensors, which ensure proper fluid levels within the retort. To ensure that the sensors function properly, they must be cleaned on a weekly basis. First, open the retort and locate the 4 level sensors on the front wall. Second, moisten the cleaning brush with alcohol and holding the brush with the tip downward, insert underneath the probe. Third, rotate the brush back and forth to ensure thorough cleaning. And lastly, repeat on each remaining sensor. Reagents may be exchanged or rotated manually or by using the automatic transfer option. Replace or rotate processing reagents as determined by laboratory validation. If manually replacing reagents, empty each bottle, rinse with compatible reagent, and refill with the appropriate volume of fresh reagent. If manually rotating reagents, empty the first bottle of each reagent group, then move remaining reagents back one to the previous station. Perform the warm water flush every 5 runs. It doesn't matter if your run consisted of 1 cassette or 300 cassettes. You must perform the flush every 5 runs. You might need to perform the flush more often if you start off with a higher concentration of alcohol after your formalin. We recommend that you perform the flush usually in the first 5 stations or up to your first absolute alcohol if you start in 70% alcohol after the formalin. If you normally start with 80% or 95% alcohol, then you will need to increase the frequency of the flushes performed. The purpose of the warm water flush is to dissolve chemicals, usually pH buffer salts, in the VIP that precipitate out of solution when neutral buffered formalin, NBF, comes into contact with the subsequent alcohols. Precipitation volume depends largely upon the concentration of alcohol following the NBF. Since the buffer salts require water to remain in solution, warm water is placed in the bottles where the precipitate may accumulate, usually the formalin and first 2 alcohol stations. During this flash cycle, the water is drawn from each bottle to the retort and then returned back to the same bottle. Exception to warm water flush maintenance is made when Tissue-Tek VIP fixative is used. Because it is a non-precipitating buffered fixative, the internal line maintenance is unnecessary. To perform the warm water flush, follow the following procedure. First, rinse, then fill formalin and first 2 alcohol bottles with clean warm water. Second, install into their appropriate stations. Note, stations 1 through 5 can be selected for a warm water flush procedure. From the process menu, touch the cleaning icon, then the warm water flush tab. When the warm water flush is completed, empty the water from those bottles and refill with appropriate fresh reagent. Return the bottles to their individual stations, ensuring a secure connection. Weekly, you should be replacing the cleaning xylene and cleaning alcohol that are used during the clean cycle. The cleaning cycle reagents accumulate paraffin and xylene with each use. The amount of contamination can be controlled by wiping the retort of any excess paraffin prior to initiating the clean cycle. These reagents should never become sludgy or sticky, which would pose an internal clogging risk. If they look hazy to you, please change them right away. We recommend every 5 runs, but you should change the cleaning reagents more often if you are using xylene substitutes or if you're running the processor more than once per day, and or if you use the clean cycle to clean your baskets, molds, or lids. Remove the bottles and discard the waste reagent. Refill with fresh reagent slightly above the 4.2 liter mark and reinstall the reagent containers into their correct positions. Please make sure that you don't switch the containers, since starting the clean cycle with alcohol will immediately clog your processor and a technician would be required to unclog the processor. Also, this would be a good time to check and make sure that you do not have any accumulated reagents in the drip tray. In order to check the drip tray, you will have to remove all the reagent containers from the bottom shelf, grab the bottom shelf, lift it up and out, and you should be able to easily remove the tray. Once removed, wipe up any reagent that might have accumulated and replace the shelf and reagent containers. Monthly maintenance. Monthly, you should be replacing your 2 activated carbon filters, usually after every 20 to 25 runs. The fume control system serves to reduce formalin and xylene fumes generated by the instrument to acceptable levels. You should also clean all your reagent containers monthly. Wash them in warm soapy water and rinse them thoroughly. Follow this up with an alcohol rinse and let them air dry before refilling them to the proper processing reagent levels. Since you will have removed the bottle cap and nozzle in order to clean the container, please inspect the caps for cracks or wear. Clean the nozzle and the bottle connections inside the cabinet. Periodic maintenance. Keep the exterior of the cabinet free of dust and clutter. Generally, wiping with a clean cloth moistened with water is all that is needed to keep the cabinet dust-free. Do not use solvents or anything abrasive to clean the exterior, especially the control panel. To disinfect the touch panel screen, spray 70 to 80% alcohol onto a soft cloth and gently wipe the screen. Do not spray any liquid directly onto the screen. As for the acrylic doors, they may be cleaned with a glass cleaner and a soft cloth. The condensation bottle works in conjunction with a fume condenser system and activated carbon filters. To ensure proper filtering and fume control, empty the condensation bottle as needed. Visually check the fluid levels of the condensation bottle. Empty the condensation bottle when the fluid reaches the max condensate level or is about 1/4 full. Dispose of the fluid per local laws and regulations for hazardous material. Replace the empty condensation bottle in the instrument. Sakura recommends scheduling an appointment for preventative maintenance once a year. The preventative maintenance should be performed by a Sakura representative or a qualified service technician.